Hang on just a minute, guys. The live stream is not started yet. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today I have a special announcement, but before we get started, before I answer anybody's questions, I definitely want to give a huge shout out to all my subscribers. I definitely want to give a huge shout out to the Amish community. You guys are a legend, especially here in the North Carolina region. I definitely want to thank you guys for everything that you've done for people, for the disaster victims. So I definitely appreciate that. And second and foremost, if you guys are new and haven't yet got a chance to get subscribed to my channel, go ahead, get subscribed, turn on all your bell notifications so therefore you won't miss any news here on the channel. But with that being said, my live chats are open for anybody who would like to join. Please be respectful to myself, my moderators, and all my other viewers out here. Although negative comments will not be tolerated here on the live stream, so if you guys kind of pop in and make a derogatory remark, your comment will be removed. And sis, hang on just a second. I'll get to you in just here in a second. Okay, welcome to the live stream. So for today's announcement, guys, I definitely am going to be talking about gaming on here as well. There has been some things that has actually came up with a new game release. And for those of you who don't know, it's Farmers Dynasty 2. I thought it was going to be released as of today, but with it being a day that it is today, guys, that has been postponed for December 5th. And hang on a second. And yes, I do have my PC sitting next to me. Also, if you guys are looking for information to where you can find most of these game downloads and stuff like that, to be able to play certain games, I have it linked in the description below. Feel free to check that out. I encourage you to do so. There's pretty much a couple places you can actually check that out. Like I said, links in the description. You know what to do. With that being said, also with something else that's going on right now. Hey Robert, how you doing, brother? Just to let you guys know, Farmers Dynasty. Farming Simulator 25 will be released as of next week. That's on the 12th of November. Nobody exactly when or what time these games are going to be dropped. So if you guys would like to know more about certain games on here, hey Christina, how you doing, hon? So if you guys are wondering about certain game releases, nobody knows exactly when these games are going to be launched. Sometimes they could tell you that they have a planned date, but that's not always accurate, because sometimes they'll find a discrepancy anywhere between stage 1 and stage 2 beta testing. So that could basically offset things and prolong it for however amount of time they decide to launch the game. So basically what they're trying to do is they're Ah, sorry, guys. I had a piece of hair hanging off my face. But thank you for the hearts. And by the way, guys, like I said, nobody knows exactly when these games are going to be launched, so just kind of keep your eyes open for that. Yes, I do, in fact, have Farming Simulator pre-ordered, so if you guys would like to check out the trailer to that, I do have that trailer. I do have my other PC here, but I do not have my coffee because I made coffee this morning and it was so damn good I could not help but to just indulge. Don't judge me. Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and. What the hell's going on with my computer? There we go. There we go. um, wait a minute. What? $19.22. Let's see what this was. That is not the game. Unfortunately, I don't have it in this PC right now, so I'm gonna have to update my Steam profile. So that might take a little bit of time for me to do. But hang on a second. Let me check something right quick. Evidently, it is not. Oh, I see what I did. It is not there. So hang on just a second, guys. I will be right with you shortly. I'm kind of looking for something at the moment. I'm not exactly. Wait a minute. This one might be it, right? Yep, I found it. A bit of time for it to upload, so just kind of bear with me. My computer is slower than a 7-year jock itch, and I'm sure you guys probably did not want to hear that. Oh, did I say that out loud? Wait, what? Anyway, guys, let me see if I can try to refresh this page. I'm going to opt out and jump back in. So, by the way, just to let you guys know, I'm getting ready to show you guys the page itself. Oh my God, I've got so many damn cords all tangled up here. This is Farming Simulator 25, guys. So the release date for that is, oops, using the mouse on my other PC. November 12th, 2024. And since this game is a new release, well, the game has not been launched yet, so it does have a couple things on here. This is just basically kind of like a show and tell type thing. And I've never had something like this pop up in this before, but there are all different brands coming to Farming Simulator 25. So, like I said, guys, the game is still available for pre-order. The game is also going to be released for PC, Mac, Xbox X, and Xbox S Series. If you guys have a PlayStation 4 and you're trying to download Farming Simulator 25, it will not be compatible for that game system. So just keep that in mind, because the reason being is because Giant Software is in fact running Engine 10, and that is probably going to be a pretty big file. So if you actually have a computer that's if you have a computer that's got an Intel iCore 7 processor, that game will be compatible with that. If you guys have a gaming PC that also has an AMD processor, don't worry, you're covered. That game is compatible with AMD as well. So hopefully that pretty much answers you guys' questions. So if by chance, if you do order a game and it's not able to be downloaded, that's probably because you don't have a strong enough hard drive to support the memory bank and to support the memory inside of the system. You may not have enough drive space for that. So, can everybody hear me okay? Can everybody see me okay? If so, let's get a thumbs up here in the chats. So I sort of feel like I'm basically talking over my microphone and nobody's able to hear me. So if you guys can actually hear me, please let me know in the chats. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll continue with this in just a moment. And by the way, I did get your picture. So also today, guys, I definitely do have some other things I would like to cover as well. I don't have any rope with me, so tying knots and stuff like that is just kind of out of the question for the time being. So I'm going to have to postpone that for another day. Huh? So if anybody out here has any questions, comments, concerns, fantastic. But if you guys are new to my channel and this is your first time watching, my live chats are, in fact, like I said before, I'll say this again, my live chats are open for anybody who would like to participate. If you have any questions that I don't catch right away, feel free to ask my moderators, and if they don't have the answer to your question, just go ahead and post your question in the chats, and if I see your question, I will try to answer that to the best of my knowledge. But anyway, guys, Farming Simulator 25 will be released as of next Tuesday. But if you pre-order the game, you can also get the MacDon pack to go with it, and you can also get some other good stuff to go with it as well. And there has been some more stuff that's being released for Farming Simulator 25. They do, however, have software open and readily available to the public, to where you can actually make your own mods and stuff like that. So it's like modified equipment. So say, for instance, if something has like I'm going to use the metric system, for example. So say, for instance, if you have a combine that has like, I don't know, 18,000 liters of grain or something, 18,000 liters of grain, um, you can actually modify that. If you make your own mods, just be careful with what you're doing, because there's probably going to be a lot of other modders out here that's probably going to be doing the same thing. If you see something that a modder is actually doing and you want to try to modify that for Giant Software to put into their testing list, little advice from the wise: always be sure to get permission from the original modder before recreating a mod that they done created and trying to claim it as your own, because that is a no-no. Giant Software will in fact frown on that. So just a little advice from the wise: if you do make a mod, you can most likely you can guarantee it may not pass the first time that you submit the mod to Giant Software for their testing list, because more than likely, chances are it doesn't matter who you are. There's always gonna be a mod that's gonna fail during testing. That's to be expected. But like I said, make sure that you check with other modders. You can find these guys on Facebook. You can probably find them on Instagram and so forth. I don't have anything highlighted in the description right now, but always be sure to get permission from that modder before you decide to do something like that, because Giant Software and other YouTubers will in fact call you out on it. Well, maybe not so much Giant Software, but as a simple legal disclaimer, I'm not under any type of apprenticeship or sponsorship with Giant Software, therefore whatsoever. So I'm just basically putting the facts out here, but there is software that you can actually obtain to be able to make your own mods. And just to let you guys know that if you do make mods, if you make them for PC, you cannot charge other people to buy your mods. Giant Software will have no part of that. How I know this is because I've been playing on Giant Software's. I've been playing different sources of Farming Simulator all the way back since Farming Simulator 14. They actually have a previous version to that. It's Farming Simulator 13. I played a year after 13 came out, so I played 14, 15, 16, 19. I haven't played 17, but I played 19, 20, 22, and 23. And now Farming Simulator 25 is in fact their graphics compared. If you look at Farming Simulator 25 and you go back and you look at Farming Simulator 14, you will see a very big significant difference in the game graphics and quality of the game. So they kind of go back and forth from PC to mobile, back to PC. So right now, 17 was out for PC, 18 was out for mobile, 19 was for PC, 20 is for no, 20 is for mobile, 22 is for PC, 23 is for I probably just said that twice, but 23 is for mobile. 24, they skipped over 24, so now they went to 25. So who knows what they're going to come up with next. But like I said, if you guys do decide to make mods, be sure to check with Giant Software, get permissions from them before you pull something off of their site and try to recreate it and claim it as your own, because that's gonna. I'm just gonna come out and say it, guys. No offense, but that's gonna piss off a lot of other YouTubers out here, because a lot of us, we are pretty much in the community of keeping guidelines and stuff like that safe, and also for permissions and stuff like that. But if you go to make a mod and you submit it, Giant Software will just basically push it out there into the mod hub, and they will tell you that you cannot charge people to make their mods while using their platform. So if you guys decide to pick up on making mods and stuff like that, fantastic. Oh, you're absolutely welcome, sis. I will show you, I will probably show that a little bit later, but right now I'm kind of more focused in on getting what I need to get done out of the way because I've been working so hard at getting everything prepped and ready. As a matter of fact, I'm a little bit more organized than I was before, all the way back from the time I started on my YouTube channel. So I'm, in fact, making, in fact, trying to make some major improvements. So just kind of keep that in mind, guys. If you guys do pick up on Giant Software's modding software itself, check with other modders. And if you have no idea who the modder is that actually made that particular piece of machinery, like per se, I'll show you, for example. This might take a moment, guys. Like this piece of machinery, that is a spinach harvester. Now, if you go to get the software and you make this exact, oh, wait a minute. If you go to make this exact vehicle and Giant Software happens to see that and you send that in for testing and you don't have permission to do that, Giant Software can in fact revoke your privilege to make mods for Farming Simulator of any type. They could blacklist you for that. So once you're blacklisted from that, they can take their mod software off your PC. So like I said, it's always best to get permission from different people, different developers and stuff like that before just something that you obviously have no idea what you're doing. So, and it's always good to have it's good to have computer experience and stuff like that as well, because that right there will also enhance your skills. Making mods is not exactly as easy as you think it is, because not only that, but you got to place it, you got to basically get the image, copy, cut, you got to cut, copy, paste, and you got to place that in just the right position, and you got to make sure that everything is functioning before you send that piece of machinery off for Giant Software's testing for their mod hub. They'll tell you exactly if it's correct or what needs to be corrected. But more than likely, chances are, if you make a mod for the first time, to be successful, guys, you got to be willing to accept failure. That's basically the best way I can tell you, best way I can describe it. Because there is another YouTuber. I'm not going to mention that person's name because I don't have permission from that YouTuber to put their name on my channel. So I'm just going to say an anonymous YouTuber has actually got involved, and this is a very big account. So I do have a lot of connections with big accounts. I do talk to a lot of people that have like over hundreds of thousands, and there's some that even have millions. of viewers, millions of likes, stuff like that. So, like I said, if you plan on making any type of modifications to a piece of machinery, always make sure that you have the permission from that developer who created that piece of machinery. So therefore, that cuts back on all the fuss and tomas, and well, you know the drill. I don't think I need to sit here and preach a sermon. This is not exactly Sunday school, okay? So that's pretty much all I have right now. But there's also maps and stuff that you can also create. But you got to get the field textures. You got to get everything right. And you got to have everything running smoothly. You can't have any bugs or any minor to major discrepancies that can cause the game to crash. But with this game being released as of next Tuesday, they did not mention anything about putting mods into the game right away, but there's also DLCs that you can actually put in there. But if you get mods, make sure that you get it from a well-trusted source, because there's also third parties out there as well that can also wreak havoc on your computer. So always be sure to check and see who that modder is. Sometimes some of the maps may require certain types of mods. I'm not talking moderators, modified machines for field equipment. That's basically what I'm in reference to, is field equipment. So for those of you who know, you know. But always be sure to get permission from that developer, from that modder, or be sure to contact Giant Software and get the appropriate permissions before submitting something through Giant Software. So then therefore, you'll still be able to make mods. And if they see just exactly how good you are at making mods, like field equipment, stuff like that, maps, etc., placeables, this, that, and the other, well, and if they see that you got a pretty good sized account and they see that you're a well-trusted source, they will actually probably more than likely give you a job, and you can actually make money doing that. And once your channel becomes monetized and they recognize that you're basically doing everything accordingly, they will even invite you to go over to the UK to check out the real machinery, because that's how these modders actually get a lot of their knowledge. They basically get a whole entire history of what this machine does, what its functionalities are. They'll even probably sometimes even let you get inside the machine, start it up, drive it, test it, make sure everything's functional. But just be careful, guys, because a lot of these machines cost over hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, if you go online and you look up the Case Quad Track, that is over a $500,000 tractor. But the horsepower in that tractor, 692 horsepower. But the tracks in the front don't turn this way, they don't turn this way. You got two sections. You got two pieces of the tractor like this, and they kind of pivot in the middle. So if you turn the tractor one way, the tractor will either go this way to go left, or it will turn this way to go right. But it's also powered by two hydraulics, and you got two major hydraulic, and you got a hydraulic pump that is also equipped for one line, and it connects to the other line. So your tractor may pivot this way, your tractor may turn and pivot this way, but you got this big steering wheel that will basically turn you when you turn the wheel. So if you guys don't know what the Case Quad Track looks like, check it out. You guys can find that on YouTube. But it's a very powerful tractor. The treads on the tracks are big enough. I could probably put about half of I could probably put my whole entire fist in between just two treads. That's how deep those treads are. But if you guys think that you're going to be powerful enough to push one of those, the weight of just one of those tractors alone is 19 tons. Now, if you want to look up the Big Bud series, now you're talking heavy. Now you're talking about $500,000 machine. $495,000 to be exact. And this thing obtains 1,100 horsepower. One of those tires are about 4 feet wide by about 7 foot tall. Now listen to this, guys. Some of the big buds, like the 747, has got 2 turbos in that engine. And you're talking about a 16 valve. Yeah. A V16. 16 valve. That can basically that can basically transfer power all the way up to 1,100 horsepower. You guys got to check this out. Matter of fact, I'll even show you the tractors I'm talking about, guys. Hang on a second. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. This thing is huge. That's just the price of buying the machine. I'm not talking about the insurance and everything else that you got to put on that, and plus the maintenance. That's just the price for the machine. $495,000 to $500,000. Hang on just a moment. I'll pull it up for you guys. I will show you exactly what the Big Bud series looks like. Now, since my computer is on a slow internet speed right now, oops. Oh, come on. Look at the size. Look at those standing right about where my finger is right here, and look how tall that thing is. That is the Big Bud 7 with the V16. That has 1,100 horsepower, guys. That is the biggest farming piece of machinery that there is right now. I'm not talking about maintenance, fuel, etc., etc. You better have a lot of money to fill one of those up, because that's probably going to run you probably right around $5,000 to $10,000 just in fuel alone. In case, oh guys, by the way, in case you don't know, International, like if you see an old farm truck that says International on the front of it, that is actually owned by Case, by the way. And that's the Case quad track. 695 horsepower, or 690, no, wait a minute, horsepower, 778, my bad. Maximum engine horsepower. There's the spec right there. Maximum engine horsepower, 778 configuration quad track. That's the tractor you just saw right there. Now, if that Case quad track gets stuck in mud, I'll put it this way. I've seen a video on YouTube. This thing was actually sunk in 4 feet of it, sunk down in a 4 foot puddle of mud. They brought Big Bud in. That was their next step, but they used 4 other Case quad tracks to pull one out. And they almost busted the chain on one. So their next step is they were talking about wanting to bring Big Bud in because Big Bud has 1,100 horsepower. So what do you think about the machine that I just showed you guys? If you guys want to see some more farming equipment, more farming machinery, let's hashtag farming. Let's hashtag the word farm in the chats over here, and I'll make that happen for you. So you guys would be pretty interested in that. That's if you were into farming. If that's your thing, if it is, it is, it is. If it's not, oh yeah, oh yeah. One of those tires alone will probably run you about $20,000 easily. That's just for one. That one there had regular standard tires on it. Now you want to talk about wides? Okay. There's axle extensions that you can actually put like a rim on one, then you put a divider on it. Well, the divider is actually connected to the rim itself, but you slide those, but you have to jack that thing up to put that on there. And you cannot just pick one of those up by yourself. Those actually have to be hoisted up by a telehandler or a crane. Wait until you hear one. If you guys want to check out some information on Big Bud 747, check it out on YouTube. Type in Big Bud 747, hit that play button, and you'll actually get a chance to hear one of those run. Oh yeah. It's got pipes on, it's got 2 exhaust pipes on, dual turbo. Now they have they also have a German version of a combine. It is the Kloss Axial Flow that can actually hold up to 18,000 liters of grain. Some of them you can actually get like different size drapers, like wheat drapers. You can get them up to like I don't know, 7 to 10 meters, all the way up to possibly even 60 foot. But just to let you guys know that some of those wheat headers or the grain headers actually do have a rock box inside of them, all across the bottom. So you always want to make sure that you keep all those rocks and stuff out of, get all those rocks out of there, because if that gets pulled up into your combine, it's going to do an existential amount of damage. And those combines, some of those can actually range anywhere from they can range anywhere all the way up to $1 million. I think it's like 900 and I think it's like 945 to nine. No. Excuse me. I think they range anywhere from 900 to about $975,000. Now you're talking about some high dollar equipment. That's just for the combine. Now you get now you get a 60-foot draper. That's probably going to run you about another additional $45,000 to $50,000 on top of that. So altogether, by the time you get that machine, they're probably not going to let that leave they're not probably not going to let you leave the lot until you put insurance on it. And once you put insurance on it, that's going to drive the cost up even higher. But over a period of time, guys, just to let you know, a lot of those machines will practically pay for themselves. That's over time. Now you don't actually have to come out and buy one. You don't actually have to go out and buy one directly. You can actually lease one. Leasing costs, I think, is probably right around $4,000 to $5,000. Maybe more than that. I don't know. I don't have an exact number. I don't have an exact calculation sheet, so I couldn't tell you exactly how much this would actually lease for. But a lot of your farmers, what they'll do is they'll lease some of the machinery and they'll bring it back. So what they'll do is they'll clean it out really well. They'll check everything over. They'll send it back to the dealer when they're done leasing it. They'll check it over. They'll replace the necessary parts that need to be replaced. And if they can't replace it, more than likely what they'll do is they'll send it back to the dealership. So there's a lot of you guys out here that probably didn't know that I used to live out in the country. And I lived like right in a little small town that was basically covered all around by farmland. I don't think I've told anybody this, but yeah, it's true. I lived in a small town. But hang on a second. I'll try to get a bigger picture of that for you. Uh, And so basically what the dealership will do is they'll actually order the parts, they'll actually order new equipment through the manufacturer because the manufacturing company has actually got a contract with the dealership. And basically they'll tell you, okay, you buy so many of these, we'll send you a few out. You can lease those out until they're bought and paid for. Once they're bought and paid for, then you work on the payments with us. We'll give you, you only pay so much a month for this machinery. And there's a deadline that you got to have all that. There's a deadline to have it all paid off by. I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to like literally hit you with major interest fees, but there are late penalties. If you miss a payment, they can come by and repossess that farming equipment. So always be sure if you do sign a contract with any dealership, make sure that you have everything paid off as quickly as possible. So then therefore, when that dealership gets to know you really well, and they get to know your line of credit, that you can actually go up there and start getting more machinery, and they'll be like, okay, well, yeah, you bought like 27. I'll use this configuration just as an example. Okay, well, you've already bought like 15 different combines from us, so yeah, we have no problems. We have no problems leasing this out to you. This just go in, just check. It says right here that you got really good credit, so yeah, come on in. We'll get the paperwork started. I just need to I gotta go over some things with you and check your credit. Do this, do that. As soon as we get our credit, as soon as we get our credit report back, and you have great credit, yeah, we'll set up a payment plan for you right then and there. But farming, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you something, guys. There's a lot of work when it comes to farming, but it does pay out tremendously. It does pay off tremendously. But you got to keep your eyes on the stock market too. And I'm going to tell you guys exactly how to do that. So if you guys decide to get into farming, little advice from the wise when it comes to buying grain. When the stock market starts to plummet, the prices start to come down, you buy that. Okay, you'll buy so much bulk when the stock market's down. You'll plant during the proper seasons. Then when it's fully grown, ready to harvest, you hold that harvest back and you keep your eye on that stock market. Once it hits an all-time high, then it's time to sell. So kind of keep this in mind, guys. Buy low, sell high. And for those of you who didn't know that I know some things about marketing, a lot of things about me you probably still don't know. A lot of things you guys are probably sitting there scratching your head like, damn, how the hell does he know this? The whole time I've known him, he's never once told me this. But yeah, that's where you buy low and you sell it high. Okay, I'll use this configuration as a primary example. Okay, say you buy a bushel of corn. Say you buy a bushel of corn and you buy it at the wrong time. You buy it when it's high and you sell it when it's low. You're basically cutting your pockets. You're basically hypothetically, you're basically kind of cutting your throat in the business area. So again, you want to buy low and sell high. And I will allow me a chance to elaborate. what I mean by buy the corn at a low price and sell it at a high price. Wait till the stock market gets down to its lowest minimum right before they cap it off. You keep an eye on that stock market. And once it gets to the lowest point, then you buy as much bulk as you can. And you got to wait for the right time of year. You got to plow your field. You got to, okay, let me put it this way. You plow your fields, you spread lime all over it. Okay. Then after you get done spreading your lime, then you take your sprayer, then you spray the fields. And what that does is that brings up the pH level in your soil. You don't want your pH level to be too high. You don't want your pH level to be too low, because that can actually produce a lot of it can become very acidic. So basically what you want to try to do is try to alkaline your soil. So you want to try to balance it out the best way you can. And over a period of time, after you plow, you plant, or you okay, you plow it, you roll it. So I mean, over a period of time, guys, it is always a requirement. So when you plow, you plant, you harvest, you plow it again. Sometimes what you'll need to do is you plow, you spread manure all over your field. And what that does is when you mix that into the soil, that works as a fertilizer. So then you spread your lime, and then you spray your pesticides over the top of that. And what that does, that balances out the pH level to plant your crops. Then once your crops start to turn, you want to go out there, then you want to check the moisture in the soil. Because if it's too low, it's going to be very acidic. And you don't want too much acidity into your soil, because that will kill your crops quick. So what you want to do is after you harvest, you'll use your subsoiler, not between every time that you fields. You want to plow it to turn the soil. So then therefore every time you turn the soil, that mixes all those, everything of what I mentioned, deep into the roots of the soil. So then that would actually raise your yield. You want to have a high yield, at least 75-80% or higher. You don't want to just plant something and have your yield at like 45%, because no, you're going to lose a lot of money that way. So you always want to make sure that you have the right yield for your crops. So when you plow it, you run your manure spreader through there. You plow it, you spread your manure, you put your lime on top of it. That's basically crushed up limestone. And basically what that'll do is that will balance out the pH level. And then you spray your pesticides to keep your unwanted weeds growing into your field. You want to eliminate all that, because what that does is if you let weeds grow into your crops, that's going to reduce your yield, and plus it's going to kill your whole entire field, basically, because it's basically going to rob all the nutrients from what you're planting into your field, and you're not going to make as near as much money. So you always want to make sure that you have a high yield, at least 75 to 80%. 85 is probably about the best you're going to get. But like they say, if you don't succeed, you try and you try and you try again. You try to better yourself every time you every time you put your crop in the ground. You always want to make sure that you test your soil because over a period of time, that will in fact balance out the pH level. Okay. So something to kind of keep in mind. If by chance, uh, if and when I do happen to get Farming Simulator 25 downloaded, I am going to do my best to live stream that. So I will basically give you a better idea and show you exactly what I'm doing in the game. So therefore, you guys will actually have a better idea of what farming is actually all about. You definitely want to have a yield over 75%. At least 80% is actually far more greater than 75, which basically puts it over 10% more. So the better the yield, the more crop you'll actually have, and the more money you will actually have too. Because then once your crops are actually going up in the market at an all-time high, that's when you sell those crops off. Find out exactly who's all local in that area and will buy that crop for a very high price. Because a lot of these places where you take your grains to, the grain silos, you look for the person that pays the highest. Then you take your crop directly to them and you sell that all to them. You pour that into the grain elevator, they'll make flour out of it, they'll make whatever out of it. Like if you have canola is a good source. You can actually make a lot of money from canola. Soybean, you can make good money from soybean too. That's probably about one of your highest. It's probably about one of your highest fruit. I wouldn't say fruit types, but I would say that's probably about one of your best grain types to get. But you don't want to keep using the same thing over and over and over again. You want to alternate that because different crops will actually take certain amounts of pH out of the ground and it will grow into your plants. because when you have a certain alkaline soil, the richer when you put the cow manure into your field or you use liquid slurry, whatever that is, that's liquid. Yeah, yeah, that. It's basically solidified into a liquid. You spray that on your fields, and what that does, that works as a fertilizer. You can take just any type of dead plant that you see in your field from your crop, what's left over, over a certain period of time, that will actually decompose and it will go right back into the ground. And what that'll do is that will also make your soil more rich. So the richer that your soil is, if you can just pick up a piece of soil, like a chunk of soil, and you can just spread that all in the ground like that, then that's when you know the soil is good. Because if you pick up a clump of hard soil and you're trying to crush it and it doesn't break into your hand, you're doing something wrong. Okay. So always keep in mind what you're doing. Keep track of everything that you do. If you got to, take notes. Okay, field number 7 needs to be plowed. It needs to be, I wouldn't say excavated, but okay, it needs to be plowed. It needs to be subsoiled. It needs to be, you can attach like an implement on the back of your tractor and use a weeder. And a weeder, what that does is that pulls all the, it just pretty much destroys all the weeds in your field. Or use a subsoiler. And what that'll do is that'll bring up all the soil, most of the soil from the bottom, and it'll alternate it, bring it up. And when you plow and you uh, when you plow and you subsoil, what that does is that turns all your soil. So basically, you're actually increasing the yield time of your crops as well. So if you plant something like in, I'd say April, you may not have to harvest that until like September or October, depending on what it is you're planting. Now, if it's corn, your best bet is to plant that in springtime. But now, if you're a farmer, you got to know when to plant that, when to harvest it. So, little advice from the wise: if you do it all by hand, just grab one kernel of corn straight from the cob. Pop one of those out. Put that in the ground. Put you like a little finger hole in the soil like this, right? I'd say probably about maybe yay deep. Center knuckles probably about here. Drop you a kernel of corn in there. Fill that up. Put water on it. Put a little bit of manure on it. And put a little manure on it or decomposed. Basically, what I'm saying is just make your own type of mulch. Or not mulch, but what the hell's the word I'm looking for? Compost. Um, that could be anything. That could be, like I said, anything. Like if you have a dead corn stalk, break it on down with your hands to almost practically nothing. And just grab you a handful of that, pack that in the dirt, and just kind of work your hands through that and just kind of slightly pat it out. And sooner or later, that corn stalk is going to start to grow. Once it gets up to about 6.5 to 7 foot tall, you want to wait until that whole entire stalk turns like a golden brown. Then it's time to harvest it. Once you harvest it, cut the stalk, take the corn, and you just take the rest of the stalk and you just put that right back down into the soil. Grab you a little handful of lime, just kind of go sprinkle that on there, just in that little area. Start with 1, then go from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and just do that until you get to like 10. Then once you get the hang of it, you'll know where your yield is at. So you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, anything that you'd like to know more about farming? If so, leave it over in the chats. Let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are. And by the way, guys, if you happen to find this video helpful, go ahead and do me a big favor if you don't mind. Take some time out of your day. Hit that thumbs up. Smash that subscribe button for those of you who are not yet subscribed to my channel. Turn on all your bell notifications, so therefore you won't miss any news here on the channel. And that also goes to help support the channel as well. So if there's anything that you guys would like to know more about farming, let me know in the comments or let me know in the chats. Well, I mean, When I lived out in Harristown, a lot of the other people that was in in the town that I lived in, quite a few of those guys were actually farmers. So I not only picked up from that, but I also I started following a lot of farmers on my YouTube channel. And also, if you guys are, in fact, if most of you guys out here are farmers out here in the United States, huge shout out to each and every single one of you guys. And if you guys check out, if you guys go onto TikTok and you want to talk to a farmer, Growing Corn 2020, check him out. Awesome guy. He'll basically tell you exactly everything you need to know. That's if you decide to take that up as a career. And also another shout out as well. I did tell somebody on my YouTube channel, or not my YouTube channel, my TikTok channel, excuse me. If you guys want to check out somebody else on TikTok as well, check out American Bad Beard. Matter of fact, I'll show you his picture, his profile. Check this. Hang on a second. Check this guy right here out if you're on TikTok. Really cool guy. And so far, you'll be surprised with the people you can have interactions with. So basically how I learned all of this, guys, I'm going to give you a little bit of an insider. When you're in a restaurant and you see somebody as a farmer, you see somebody walk in, just kind of those kind of, I'm not saying the way they dress. It's from it's basically from what they drive, and it's basically from watching them in the fields. Excuse me. When you see somebody walk into a coffee shop or something, more than likely chances are that person very well could be a farmer. But if they're sitting here talking about yields and stuff like this, yeah, I'm just kind of looking for some best advice of how to do this, how to do that, how to improve this, what do I need to do to make this happen. You know, a lot of farmers will actually go into like public restaurants. If you actually sit back and you observe, you learn more from your observation. And if there's something that you have a question about, feel free to ask that farmer. Hey, look, hey guys, sorry to interrupt you. You guys are basically talking about farming, talking about how to do this and how to improve that. I'm looking to do farming myself. I'm just very interested. You know, get to talk to those farmers and get to know those people, and sooner or later, hell, who knows? They may just give you a job. They may start you out with something small, then kind of work your way up, save up your money. And when you get really good at it, then you can start getting your small machines, then go from your smaller machines to your bigger machines. Work yourself up bigger gradually. Don't start from the very you start from the very bottom and you expect to get to the top just by one big leap. It's it's not going to work that way, guys. That right there would probably go over as about as good as a lead brick in water. It would go straight to the bottom. So always start small and work your way up the ladder. And if you do have questions, guys, feel free to ask. You know, there's an old saying, I'm very old school. Closed mouths don't get fed. I'm very old school. So, you know, I figured this would be something that would help you guys out. So if you ever decided to pick up something like that, and I'm going to tell you right now, the work that you may end up getting may not be simple. So if you're out in the field, always make sure you have water on you. And always make sure you know your sense of direction. And another thing too, always listen for the sound of heavy machinery. If it sounds like it's getting too close to you, you're too close to it. Your best bet is to just stay out of its path. And now the mechanical parts for certain types of machinery. If you start with something small, you might be able to fix it yourself. If you don't know how to fix it yourself, take it to someone who does. They could show you how to fix it. Ask them if you could watch them. Because when you watch them do something, that's how you learn. You got to be observant. My sentiment's exact. So you always got to be observant. Sit back and kind of listen it, kind of chime in on somebody else's conversation, but don't let them know that you're eavesdropping. But if they happen to say something and it catches your attention, don't look all surprised. Oh wow, I didn't know this. I'm gonna run home and I'm gonna do this. Always observe. Observation is key. So when somebody says something that kind of catches your attention, make a note up here. And if you got a poor memory, jot it down. Or even take just a few seconds out of your day and just be like, excuse me, guys, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt, but you said something along the lines of, I'm not trying to eavesdrop, but you said something along the lines of, try this method, do this. If this doesn't work, try this. That's how you're going to learn how to do farming, guys. I actually did, I didn't get paid for this, but I actually learned how to grow plants and stuff like that in a greenhouse. I even know how to build a greenhouse. Very simple. And you don't need thousands of dollars to build a greenhouse. All you need is a watering source. All you need is tarp, or not tarps, but plastic, thick, clear, rebar, hose, like a garden hose. Slip a piece of rebar in there. Put that in the ground. Arch it, and make sure that all your other arches are the exact same height, same width, same everything. So when you do one arch, you go back, you measure it. Okay, this is what I need to do. All right. Then I could do this here. I could do that there. Then you build you like a little wall to match that exact same arch width. But you cut out a certain portion to put your door there. Get you some rubber stripping. So if it's ever like wintertime and you need some place to grow your crops, fine and dandy. You can walk in there and you won't have to worry about doing anything, because look at it this way. Every time you plant something into the ground, you're actually giving off good emissions. Because what that plant is actually doing is actually giving off, it's emitting greenhouse gases. So, and allow me to elaborate what I mean by greenhouse gases. You could drive a vehicle right next to a greenhouse, but if it get that carbon, you get that smoke from the exhaust pipe with the carbon monoxide, those plants are going to absorb all that carbon monoxide, and it's basically going to revert that all back to oxygen. Because every little tiny leaf, if you look at it closely, you'll notice there's a little hole right there. Little holes all throughout the whole entire leaf. And what that does is that gives off oxygen. That's actually greenhouse emissions. So every plant that you grow will in fact absorb all the carbon monoxide and basically turn it back into oxygen. And something else I bet you probably didn't know either. Sit tight, guys. I'm gonna learn y'all something different. Because when you're okay, now when you breathe out, your oxygen level could be down towards where my hand is. And now if you go up higher and you swing your hands, you notice that it's just a little bit thinner. That's because all your oxygen is actually going up into the air, but your carbon dioxide, which you breathe out, is actually going down. But your oxygen is at the lowest point. Carbon dioxide sits right above that. So now if you get into an environment to where the air is constantly rotating and shifting, what you're doing with that is you're basically mixing two of those together. And now if you have plants, it'll actually breathe in, it'll basically breathe all that carbon dioxide in, and that's basically what gives that plant chlorophyll to keep it green. And in return, that plant is also giving off greenhouse emissions, giving you oxygen. When you breathe in, you're breathing in oxygen. When you exhale, breathe out, you're blowing out carbon dioxide. Facts. So, like I said, guys, if this video does in fact, if you've learned quite a bit from the videos that I'm actually making, feel free to do me a big favor. Hit that thumbs up if this video is, or if this live stream is really being very beneficial to you. Because stick around, guys. I got a lot more for you guys as well. So this is basically the new content that I'm working on right now. Plus, I'm also going to still continue to be working on all my gaming here on the live stream as well. So basically doing multiple segments of different types of content. So I'm kind of piecing it together in segments until there's nothing left of that conversation. Then I just basically move to the very next one. Where's the coffee? I had that earlier. Yeah, I made the coffee this morning. Oh, wrong one. What you see? No, what you see in this one here? Oh no, that's, yeah. What you see right there is what little I've got left. And this is what I made. Got a little bit there. Oh, this one here, I'm actually storing wax. I'm building wax up in here, trying to build it up because eventually I'm going to start making my own type of candles by hand. And you know what okay. And here's something I bet you probably didn't know. Sis, and for all you other viewers out here, you know those little paper masks that during the COVID pandemic, which has basically been planned, the little paper masks that you see people wearing in the hospital. When you breathe out carbon dioxide and you go to breathe that back in, that becomes very toxic. And what I mean by that is when you breathe in your own carbon dioxide, you can actually develop something called mascaria, which can basically turn out to be fatal. I'll do that here in just a little bit, sis. So that's why it's always best not to cover your face up when you're breathing, because when you breathe something, when you breathe in your own carbon dioxide, that can actually turn into something called mascaria. Okay. And that is also, like I said, over a period of time, that can actually, you can actually develop something called, you can develop brain damage from that. You can actually get no, it could damage your, it could basically cause brain damage, and it can also damage the neuroreceptors of your brain. And something like that over an existential period of time can also become very fatal. So just keep that in mind. So if you guys definitely would like to know more about, let me know exactly what you guys want to know more about. Oh, excuse me. Let me know in the chats what you guys would like to know more about, and for the next live stream, I will do my best to make all this happen, and we'll go from there. But next Tuesday, it's likely possible I may not be live that day, because if I do happen to go live, it may be sometime in the afternoon, because I may be live. I'm going to try to set up my live streaming between here and next Tuesday so I can live stream Farming Simulator 25 and upload that to my YouTube channel. Farming? Okay. Um, what would you what all exactly would you like to know? Because I can do pretty much anything to making compost and all this other stuff too. Because there's several different ways I can do farming. I could do the old traditional. There's three different ways I can plant. I could use outdoor soil. No, here where I'm at. I live on a big sandbank. So basically, the city that I'm living in right now is pretty much an island. Farming all of it. Farming. Fantastic. So far, we got two for farming. Anybody else? And this is actually pretty amazing because I didn't even really even have to do a poll this time around. Okay, so now we got, oh, all right, I see. We got three. So fantastic. Farming it is. Oh, and something else I was going to mention to y'all as well. And sometimes, and you know how they say some things, if you talk to certain plants, they tend to grow quicker. Do you know why that is? I'll give you I mean, I'll basically kind of, I'll let you guys, I'll let you guys answer me on this one, and I'll tell you if you're right or if you're wrong. Why is it always good that some people talk to their plants? Okay. Because when you talk to a plant, you're basically giving off sound waves, which is ultrasonic vibrations that actually can promote growth. Look at it this way. You notice a lot of the old bells have big cracks in them. I'll tell you the reason why. A lot of those bells, and this is actual facts, guys. What I'm about to tell you is cold-hearted facts. The reason why those bells are broken, that was done intentionally. Because in the medical field, this has already been proven. This is actual facts. Because when you if you have somebody stand underneath a bell and somebody hits that bell with something solid and it gives off that burn, basically what it is there, okay, you got the bell part right here at the top. When you hit something at the bottom, all those sound waves bounce off every single inch of that bell internally. And if you're standing right there on the inside of that bell while that's vibrating, that actually promotes healing. So the reason why they correct them is because that is to demote the bells. So they're trying to discredit that so people would be more reluctant on big pharma medications. So it's basically the vibrations that would actually heal sickness. It wouldn't heal injuries, it would heal any type and all types of sicknesses that a person could actually obtain. Just in a matter of moments. Why do you think they came out with the med? Why do you think they're coming out with the med beds? Again, vibrations. Different types of vibrations actually works on a different type of frequency. You got ultrasonic vibrations, you got standard vibrations, and you got your heavy wave vibrations. So you know when you have like a glass of water and you have it sitting on the table and you have your speakers away and you have your stereo cranked all the way up and you see that water just kind of have that little ripple effect in the glass. Okay, look at the water and look at the inside of a bell. There's not very much of a difference. But those waves, you can't see those waves, but you can feel them as that energy is passing. That energy is actually passing through you. So that can actually heal a sickness. But now, if you watch the water in that glass have that little ripple effect, that is actually the exact same frequency of vibrations that's actually used to heal people. But the one that actually promotes healing is actually at a very higher decibel. Mm-hmm. In the glass, that would be a higher decibel compared to a bell, which is a deeper, louder type of decibel. Miracle Grow and nitrogen plant food comes in like little, kind of like turquoise pellets. Comes in like a either it's kind of like a bluish or turquoise type. It's almost the same color as my tattoo ink. It's right around that color. So when you go to like a store, you tell them that you want nitrogen-based plant food. It actually has that in there. But when you actually, okay, because when you put the Miracle Grow in with the nitrogen plant food, that will actually promote growth. So if you use nitrogen and plant food, or not nitrogen, if you use nitrogen and Miracle Grow both together, you combine them, that will actually speed up the growth process compared to a plant that has not got that. So okay, say for instance you plant 2 wheat stalks. You got okay, say you got 2 things seeds. Put a wheat seed here and a wheat seed there. You put liquid nitrogen on one plant. Just saying, I don't recommend putting that into your edible type foods. I'm talking about something as simple as Snapdragon, something like that. Okay. If you use something like that, you're basically the one that's got the nitrogen, plant food, and Miracle Grow. It basically breaks down the pellet and it solidifies into the soil and it gets right up into the roots and it goes right up the stalk and to all the parts of the plant itself. That will actually speed up the growth process because not only you're creating the pH level in the soil, you're also promoting its growth. whether you know it or not. And so when that plant grows, it's actually growing with the kinetic energy and the direct ultraviolet radiation from the sun also mixed with kinetic energy to cause it to double the it would enhance its growth speed by 2 to 3 times over compared to one plant that does not actually have them. Because when a stalk grows out of the soil, what does that create? That creates friction. Okay. And that doesn't actually create heat, but for a plant, that actually creates ultrasonic micro vibrations. Ultrasonic micro vibrations. Because you're basically reducing an acidic soil to an alkaline, and you're basically giving the plant the nutrients and vitamins that it needs to thrive, and plus you're enhancing the growth speed also with the ultraviolet radiations plus two molecules, hydrogen and oxygen, equals what? Water. Something that 85% of your body's made out of. $75 to 85% of your body is actually made of water. Okay, now for example, if there was a plant that was growing and I was sitting here smoking a cigarette and say my hand is the plant, and I do this method, I blow smoke on it. It's actually taking the carbon monoxide out of the fucking smoke itself and actually converting the carbon monoxide into direct oxygen. So it's basically one it's basically one big cycle. I've done a lot of existential research with vibrations. I've done a lot of existential research with kinetic energy and ultraviolet radiation. Because a lot of your plants need the ultraviolet radiation to enhance the molecules inside of the stalk to promote that growth. It also feeds the plant and also absorbs everything that I just mentioned to you. That will enhance the growth itself of an actual plant, no matter what type of plant it is. But before you buy any type of liquid, or you can actually get that plant food in two different things. You can get it as a liquid, or you can get those in pellets. I recommend the pellets because if you use the pellets are going to break down, and it's going to basically feed that plant a lot more than just a liquid that's just going to absorb into the soil and probably not have the full potential of reaching every single root of that plant. But of course, you're going to have to pour water on it. planting, liquid nitrogen, or excuse me, nitrogen-based plant food, plus ultraviolet radiation from the sun. Plus, that's also going to create an ultrasonic micro vibration to promote growth. So basically, the vibration is basically being sent out through what? Kinetic energy. So basically, it's two different types of energy, kinetic energy and vibration. Do you guys have any questions or anything that you'd like to ask me pertaining to anything that I just mentioned, or are you just pretty much sitting back thinking, dang? Let me know in the chats. Let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are in the chats, guys. So if you basically take all three of those, no, excuse me, correction. If you take all four of everything that I've just mentioned, all four, and you put that down into one remainder, what does that equal? I'll wait. Actually, no, excuse me, correction. Two separate segments. You take one remainder, you split it in two different directions. What is that? What do both of those equal out to? There's two answers to just one question. Okay. Are you ready for both answers? Chemistry, that's one. Physics, you got physics and chemistry. And when you look at one seed, no matter what type of seed it is, how many textures to that seed are there specifically? take a crack at it. Incorrect. 3. You got the hull, which is the outside part of the seed. Then you got the internal lining. There's 2. Then you got the core, which is dead center of the seed. So basically where your plant grows from, it grows from the core of the seed, but it breaks through the sub base around it. Then when it punches out through the top of the seed and it continues to grow up, it splits the hull. The hull is basically it's biodegradable, which means it can actually turn the hull of the seed and the outline of what's under the hull into into its own type of fertilizer. So you got 3 parts of the seed. Just like the question of the human brain is how many parts of the human brain actually makes the human body fully functional to where you got movement and et cetera, et cetera. How many parts of the brain actually keeps a human being alive? Now, if you guess 3, that would be incorrect. Left lobal, right lobal, cerebral cortex, the cerebellum, and the core. So you got 5. The cerebral cortex is basically right dead center of the brain, between the left and the right lobal. There's a nerve that runs right parallel to that. And that nerve breaks off into several different clusters. And that's where all your neurons are basically firing between neurons. Again, right lobal, left lobal, cerebral cortex, the cerebellum, and the part where your stem connects directly to the brain that runs down through the center part of your spine. That goes about halfway down your back. And at the end of every single nerve in your brain are the neurons and your receptors. But you have a nerve that runs here along the side of your brain on one side, and the same thing here. And I do believe that connects to the nerves of your eyes. So that actually controls taste, touch, smell, sight, and hearing. So every time you look at an animate object and you blink, that kind of works just like a camera. But when you take a picture of something, it's reversed, but it comes back at you accordingly as your eyes perceive what you're looking at. For example, because everything is basically broken down into clusters. And every time you look at a camera, everything starts out as particles. And what I mean by particles is you look at a screen that contains pixels. The pixelization of your screen are, in fact, those particles. So what goes from your camera to the screen basically reverses, and it's basically kind of like a telephoto telephoto type image. Now, for something like that to go to your brain, it actually has to be absorbed by your eyes, and that image has to be sent directly to the back of the cerebellum. Without the cerebellum, a person is practically a vegetable. So between the brain and the skull, you got the blood-brain barrier. It goes all the way around the brain. So if you bumped your head, you would not instantly have brain damage. Why? Because your skull absorbs the shock from the dissipation of impact. And the skull starts out as three separate segments. You got the segment here, you got the segment here, and then you got your back plate in your head. So when you start out as a baby, your skull is in three pieces. So when the parents give birth, that skull can be pushed in together through the birth canal. So when it comes out, when you lay a baby on one side and it lays, when they lay over into the other side, you see how fast it forms the skull? Facts. So if you basically take your finger and you go right on the top, like right about dead center of your skull here, you will actually feel three different parts of your brain. That spot right there, that feels like a little hole there, or like a little dip, that's where your skull fuses all three bones together. And it hardens as you get older because that bone is actually creating calcium. And that's what's basically fused your skull together. It's calcium deposits. Okay. Now say for instance, if somebody walked up and they punched a brick wall, you notice it's gonna damage the skin. But one more thing, that's actually going to create microfractures. And those microfractures, your body will produce the calcium to fill in those microfractures. With calcium deposits, that can actually make your hands harder. So when you hit something, it's less likely you're going to break your hand. But you got to train to build your bone structure durable. And the part of the bone that's right here, is probably about the size of a piece of small rebar. So that bone in your arm is about like this, about like that. So if you go from here to here and you get a ruler and you put that ruler right there on your forearm to your wrist, that is exactly probably almost equivalent to a foot, to about 1 1/4. Actually, no, almost 13 inches to be exact. So now, let me tell you something. Now, if you don't have a ruler, I'll tell you another little secret. Take your finger and from here to this knuckle, back here to this knuckle, and you pull that apart. 25.4 millimeters, exactly 1 inch in metric calculation. 25.4 millimeters is exactly 1 inch. So measure your elbow from right here all the way up to this part of your bone here. That's probably going to at least be a foot to about one. It's going to be anywhere from a foot to about 1 foot, 1 inch, 1 1/4, 1 1/4 foot. I can almost guarantee you that. Try it. So what you're going to do is, if you get the ruler, is you're going to basically come down here to the bottom part. So when you fold that ruler down, that other part of that ruler is going to touch like right about here, approximately. Right about where my finger was, right there. 1 1/4. And now if you can take your hands or take your, well, I can't straighten this finger out because I had surgery on this one a long time ago. If you can take both hand or both your arms like this, and you go like, and you basically put them together, and you have them standing straight up, both of your middle fingers are going to be exactly the same height from where your elbows are touching the table. Let me know in the comments. Let me know if I'm right or let me know if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll own it. My personal opinion on something specifically, there's three. Actually, there's three, maybe four words they should remove from the dictionary. Actually, three. Perfect. Actually, no, four. Perfect, perfection, perfectionist. Three. Besides, who can truly define the whole entire definition of the word perfect? So, in a way, if you go to think about something, think about what William Shakespeare once said: to be or not to be, that is the question. Incorrect. I'll tell you the reason why. Because when he's made that comment, to be or not to be, he contradicted himself in a very condescending way. So basically, he asked two questions, but try to convert them to one. Make sense? Like I said, though, when you're observant, you tend to learn more. So, if I might suggest, try being very observant. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up for the night. Um, I definitely want to thank you guys for coming to hang out with me tonight. I will be live streaming again this Thursday from 8 o'clock p.m. to 9:30, possibly later than that. So if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns about anything that I mentioned here on the live stream, please feel free to ask. Leave it over here in the chats. Oh, oh, shit. Thank you. Hold that thought, guys. I will be right back on that topic in just a moment. My moderator wants me to show you guys something, and she's very adamant about it. So, anyway, I'm going to show you guys if my camera will actually. There we go. Oh, those are nice. So if you guys can actually see this in the chats, feel free to jump in, let me know exactly what your thoughts are. This is my moderator, and the other person on the other end with her is also one of my other moderators. So huge shout out to all my mods as well. I definitely want to thank you guys for everything that you've done. I definitely do appreciate the fact that you're also being supportive in the channel. Huge shout out to each and every single one of you. And for all the rest of my subscribers, I don't want to feel like I'm leaving anybody out here because I feel really bad. I might have to go sit in the corner pot and God knows what else. Yeah, I know what those are. But anyway, guys, I definitely want to thank you guys for coming to hang out tonight. And stay tuned, guys. I am going to be live again this coming Thursday from 8 o'clock p.m. to 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And for those of you who don't know when I live stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays from 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 9 o'clock Eastern, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if I can say it correctly. Um, anyway, guys, that's pretty much going to wrap this video up. And as always, stay safe, stay sharp, stay frosty. and stay vigilant. Until next time, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.